And now throughout Squid Game Season 2, we know that the front man, aka player number 1, is undercover and he's really behind the games. Just like how in Season 1, Ilnam was also behind the games, and on top of that, he was player number 1. So, but unlike Season 1, we actually know who is undercover in Season 2. But in today's video, I'm going to be discussing who else could be undercover, because there have been some hints, there have been some speculation about more people being undercover, if it's a VIP or if it's just another employee of the Squid Games or something totally else. So in today's video, I'm just going to be discussing about that, giving my theories and speculation about it, and theorizing which other character is undercover during Season 2. So please stay tuned. And now, before we actually get into the video, I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And I'd like to ask you all to like this video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But without further ado, let's get right into the video. And now, like how I mentioned before, in Squid Game Season 2, we know that player number 1, aka the frontman, is undercover and he's keeping an eye on Gi-hun, and basically in his own way, he's steering the rest of the people during the games the other way. But there are a few other possible characters that could be undercover agents during the Squid Game. Now, the first character I want to talk about is player number 125, aka Min-soo. Now, throughout the season, we have been seeing that Min-soo is a very innocent person, right? He's very scared. He doesn't know how to stand up for himself, especially against Thanos. And it just seems like this guy is harmless, right? He's just scared for his life. He wants to get out of there, and he's just listening to what other people say. But there is one interesting detail about this character that hasn't really been mentioned before, and I will give credits to my brother for this because he brought this up in front of me. And now player number 1 is played by an actor named David Lee. And this character has appeared in Season 1 before, and now a lot of you may be thinking that we haven't seen this character in Season 1, and you know, what are you talking about? And now if you look on Google, David Lee has appeared in Squid Game Season 1 as a VIP number 3 to be exact, and that VIP is the Deer Mask VIP. And now, like, this could mean a lot of other things, right? This could mean that, you know, this could be another game amongst the VIPs, right? Min-soo, he's just putting up an act like how player number 1 is, or Ilnam was in Season 1. Or this could just mean that, you know, they're just reusing an actor for a different role, and in Season 1, David Lee had a mask on, so, you know, you could really do anything with that sort of casting. But I think that there's some sort of deeper meaning to this, because they wouldn't reuse an actor for just no reason, right? I mean, this show is huge. They could just recast actors. They could cast anyone that they want, but they chose to cast David Lee once again, but this time without the mask. So I think that I'm going to lean more towards Min-soo being a VIP member. Now, how could they make this work? Now, during Season 1 of Squid Game, they did mention that there have been other Squid Games around the world, right? You know, different countries and different VIPs, they do hold their own sort of game. So what if this time around, after Ilnam's death, they came up with a different game amongst themselves? They want to participate in the games, right? And this could be some sort of bet, right? Maybe whoever wins, like, they get all the shares, or something like that, right? Something more sinister behind the scenes. And I think it's very interesting thinking that a VIP member is also amongst these other players, and they have their own little game being played. And wouldn't it be weird that the VIP members are not being shot in the head, right? You know, they're not being killed fully, they're just getting injured and then they're taken away. That could be another interesting angle to it as well. And I think that with Gi-hun being in the Squid Games, right, I think the frontman, aka player number 1, isn't going to, you know, really overlook that, right? I mean, yeah, he's in the games himself, but I think he has extra precautions to it. And I do believe that having VIP members in there and having more people undercover is another way to basically keep an eye on Gi-hun and to thwart any plan he has to stopping these games. And like how I mentioned before, the VIPs could be holding their own little Squid Game, right? And maybe they're betting their own companies, right? They're betting shares, they're betting properties, and they're just betting a whole lot of money on themselves, which I think would bring a really good twist to the story, because you're bringing in people that have a clear advantage over everyone else because, of course, they're VIPs. But on top of that, they don't really need the prize money, right? It's just for fun. And we have seen the VIPs in season 1, and we know that they are horrible people, right? They're trash people that don't really care about human lives, and they just care about their money and their bets, and they're just betting on these players like racehorses. So again, this could be another way for them to have fun, to bet more money, right? To raise the stakes more, right? If you die, I get your company, or if you die, I get this many shares, or something like that, right? And I think that Min-soo putting up a really good act is also possible, because we've seen it before in season 1, right? I mean, we can't trust anybody. And also in season 2, right? In our perspective, we know that player number 1 is the front man, right? He is behind the games, but the players in the show, they do not know that, right? You know, and player number 1 seems like a really nice guy, right? He's caring about everyone, right? And he's playing it fairly. So it is not out of the realm of possibility that Min-soo could also be a VIP member that is undercover. Maybe his intentions are not to, you know, thwart Gi-hun's plans, or to keep an eye on Gi-hun. It's just his own little game going on with the other VIPs. And now the next character I want to talk about is player 149, and I know that a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this opinion, but it seems like that this character has been acting very weird. And of course we know that she is a sweet old lady, right? And a lot of people are saying that she's the nicest character in the show, she's the sweetest character in the show, but I think that's the whole point, right? And that's the reason why some people also think that she is an undercover agent. Maybe she's the one that's running the whole Squid Games. And now the evidence that backs this theory up is that she brought a weapon into the games, right? And she's the only character that was able to bring a weapon. And of course, a lot of you may be saying that, yeah, I know they didn't do such a thorough search, and it was very well hidden. But at the same time, they found Gi-hun's tracker in his tooth, right? And again, the captain might have leaked that information to the front man, and also on top of that, the front man is keeping a close eye on Gi-hun, so it makes sense to do a really thorough search on him. But it doesn't seem fair that they only do a thorough search on one person but not the rest of the players, which does seem weird, right? If they found a weapon in her hair, they would definitely confiscate it. So I believe that player 149 is also an undercover agent. Now, how could she be an undercover agent? Now, first of all, she got the special treatment, like I mentioned before, by bringing a weapon into the games. And now the second piece of evidence is that she's a helpless old lady, just like how Il-nam was in the first season, right? He seemed like such a helpless old man. He cared about everyone. He was very sweet to the rest of the other players. But at the end of the day, it turned out that he was behind the games. And third of all, which is probably one of the biggest pieces of evidence, is that she stopped her son from going into the gunfight at the end, right? She knew something, right? She knew that people were going to end up dying and they were going to end up losing, right? And she probably knew that the front man was behind everything. She probably knew him personally. So as soon as he went out, she already knew that he was going to get the upper hand. So it was no point in sacrificing her own son. And now a lot of you may be thinking that, why doesn't the son know about this? Maybe the son is also an undercover agent, right? Maybe he's working with his mom. And now the reason why she would be, you know, in the Squid Games in general is for Il-nam. And now that is another theory in itself, is that she is possibly the wife of Il-nam. I know that sounds insane, right? And of course, she doesn't seem like such a major character, but she has been highlighted quite a bit, and it is possible, right? I mean, anything is possible in this show. A lot of twists can happen, and she could turn out being Il-nam's wife, and possibly after he died, he gave everything to his wife. We all may be thinking that, yeah, you know, the front man is running the games. He is behind everything now. He took Il-nam's place, but it could also turn out being that he gave everything to his wife. His wife is the new head of the Squid Game. She owns everything now, and the front man is still under her. And again, that's a really good theory. And as for her son, right, maybe he is also behind the games. Maybe he is Il-nam's son. And the reason why he pressed O during the second vote is that he wanted to even things out, right? He wanted to keep playing the games, and maybe his mother told him in the back that, yeah, you know, press O, or if anything goes wrong, if it seems like that there's going to be more X's, press O, or don't make yourself look suspicious. Because I don't think that this character, if he was a real player, I don't think he would choose O, right? He would choose X definitely, because as scared as he looked and just the way that this character is, I don't think that he would have pressed O in any other circumstance. And maybe he is part of the main higher up elites of the Squid Game, but I don't think there's really much merit to the theory of player 149 being Ilnam's wife, other than the fact that we don't know much about her husband. The only thing we know is that her husband cheated on her, and now that's a whole different theory that I have, and I'll make a video on that theory another day. But yeah, I do firmly believe that player 149 is behind the Squid Games, right? If she's an undercover agent, if she's working for the Squid Games elites, or if she's an elite in herself and she's the one that's running the whole thing. And also another piece of evidence that I totally forgot to mention about player 149 being an undercover agent is that during the third game where they had to go through the doors and pick a certain amount of people, right? Pick a group and then they go into the doors to survive. We do see that player number 1 saved player 149, right? And player 1 and Gihan saved player 149, and of course that could just be that, oh yeah, we have to save this old lady, and player number 1 looking good in front of Gihan, right? He's putting up a whole act, he's gonna look good for him, so he's gonna drag this old lady with them and save her life. But also it could mean that player number 1 is saving his boss's life, right? Maybe even the soldiers don't know that she's undercover. Maybe she's very secretive and only the front man knows that, yeah, you know, she's my boss, she's everyone's boss, and she's just behind the shadows. Maybe that could be the reason as well. But yeah, I do believe that there are some other undercover agents during the game, and the reason for that is that they need to keep some sort of suspense, right? They need to have that surprise factor, because we already know that the front man is behind the game, so it'd be more interesting that if Gihan is literally playing against the elites, or he's playing against more undercover agents, and it just seems that you know, all odds are against him. I think that that'd be very interesting. And also in season 1 we did see that Ilnam was undercover, so I do believe that they're going to do something like that again. If it's Minsu, or if it's player 149, or if it's any other player, there's going to be somebody else that is behind the shadows, and there's somebody else that's going to be playing against Gihan that turns out being an undercover agent. But yeah, that's it for today's video. I'd like to ask you all to like, share, and subscribe. And again, thank you guys so much for the growth. Thank you guys so much for the support. I really, really appreciate it. And comment down below, what do you guys think? Do you guys think that there are more undercover agents during Squid Game Season 2 or Season 3? Or is it just player number 1? And like how I mentioned in the start of the video, please like the video as much as you guys can. It helps a ton. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.